Are you ready?
Yeah. I don't have to do anything. You do it. I just sit here. It's all up to you.
Okay, run up. Hello.
Yeah, okay, let's hear
Okay,
that.
I won't do the run up then. Okay. Hello, and welcome to the DM's Book Club, a podcast where we read about some Dungeons and Dragons and discuss how we might include them in our role-playing campaigns. Hey, it's us again. Sorry, I know it sounds like, what are you talking about, Fiona? We heard you last week, but actually, it's been a while since we've actually recorded. Just us, just me,
us, not an interview.
Yeah, not an interview. Yes, it's just me and obviously our wonderful co-host Hamilton. How are you,
Hello.
Hamilton?
Hello. Yes, I'm good. Yes, it's nice to be back. I was saying that I was doing the terrible thing you shouldn't say as a podcast. Listen to your own podcast the other day, and chuckling away in the office, and people doing the whole like, "Oh, what are you laughing at?" Me.
I'm so funny.
No, I don't do it that often, but I was listening to it and I was enjoying it, and I am glad to be back. That's basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so essentially what's happened, folks, is Christmas and then New Year. This happened last time as well. It just gets to a point where it's just all so overwhelming. And it's not because we're doing lots of stuff. It's because we can't do lots of stuff. And we're just, I'm sat between family obligations. I'm at home. The internet's not very good. And I'm just sat there going, when can I talk about D&D?
100%. That is exactly it. Yeah. How about you, Fiona? How are you doing?
Well, as you know, Hamilton, been super bloody busy, and it's been wonderful. I currently, when this episode goes out, I will be in the middle of running an Alien campaign for a network called Girls Run These Worlds. I know, every time I hear something else about it, so this is obviously me before running the campaign, but obviously when this goes out, it is in the middle of the campaign. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was happening. Oh God, yay! But also, so there's lots of scary imposter syndrome stuff happening, but that's okay. Like, I bet I'm doing great. Good job, future Fiona, says past Fiona.
Good job, future Fiona. Well, going off all the stuff I've seen recently of yours that you've been getting yourself across the internet doing all this stuff, as I will keep saying how much I love Nice Marines, I really enjoyed that. Yes. And if no one's listened to it, which is on Christian's brain, I probably mentioned it in the last episode, and you should watch it again. It's on the YouTubes. It's very funny. And and if Alien is even half as good as that, it'll be amazing. It's kind of what I'm getting at. And I'm assuming it's going to be 300 times better because it looks like an amazing cast, an amazing backing behind it. And
it's exciting. Well, hopefully it'll be better than Nice Marines in the sense of like it'll be the same amount of violence, but maybe a little bit more serious rather than like lol.
The same amount of violence, but more serious.
But at the same time, I'm doing lots of sci-fi stuff recently with also improv. But again, for Christian's brain, again, this is past Fiona talking about future Fiona, which will come out in the present. I will have recorded with them a game of Good Society, so that Jane Austen RPG.
When are you doing that? Have you done that? Are you doing that?
I will be doing that.
We'll have done it. You will
have done it, but it won't be out. It'll probably be out for Valentine's Day, so it's been very interesting to be like reading lots of alien sci-fi horror, and then. Well, what should we do? Mr. Darcy. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate we're doing a big promo of all my stuff at the beginning of the zone, so we should crack on.
I'm just loving this idea that you'll get them mixed up. Just like, and you're sipping tea, and then suddenly your stomach starts to rumble, and you go on the middle of the table, and the alien comes out.
Oh, Mr. Darcy! Oh no! What a trifle error! Yeah, Pride and Prejudice and Aliens. There you go.
Pride, Prejudice, and Aliens is a thing. Okay, merge the two.
Hamilton, what are we talking about today? What is our topic of choice?
Our topic of choice is we're back unearthing some Arcana. We're delving into the vaults of Wizards of the Coast's 1D&D playtesting material. Mm-hmm. It is the latest one that is out at the moment, which I think the headline is Cleric and Revised Species. The Cleric and Revised Species.
The Cleric, yes, exactly.
The Cleric.
This is the third one out. But folks might be wondering, Hamilton, why have we not covered the first one, the character options one, which was incredibly big and it was very exciting at the time, but we've not done a specific episode on it. And I know in our expert one, we did say we'd get to it, but we've kind of made a choice about it, haven't we, Hamilton?
We have. At the time it came out and we did read through it all and we had a lot of opinions and then a lot of much more well-informed and better I'm trying to think.
Communicators, experts,
much more intelligent, much what I'm looking for. More intelligent people with more intelligent things to say than our stupid faces have put it in a really interesting, good way. And I think we had a few singular points to put down on it, and I think my personal opinion on it is it still lacks what it should be because it's the gamification of race and
Yes.
species, and I think the problem is fundamentally in that. And I think
Mhm.
until that's completely solved, that's the things that are a continuing issue, I guess,
Yes.
in D&D.
Completely agree.
There are moves in the right directions as ever, but
Yes.
it's a slow
Mm.
process. And as we found out that the D&D community is in itself amazing,
So good.
and I think that through ourselves as part of the community,
Yeah.
we just do what we need to do to make it better because that's
Yeah.
what we do. And so that's kind of it. But that was really my only thoughts on it. And Fiona, leave it to you to see if you've got anything else
Oh
to add.
no, I think it's because we did have to think about. Oh well, there's also that mixture of like, but we're hot. We watch the streams. We want to be relevant, and
Yeah,
obviously time got away from us. And also,
yeah,
as you rightly put, there was so much discourse around it, but
yeah.
also discourse from people that we want to hear from, not
Mm.
too white, middle class amateur podcasters,
Westerners. Yeah,
Westerners.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I think I honestly highly encourage people to, if you've not seen this discourse, and I appreciate this was a couple of months ago, to
yeah,
go out and find out more about it, because I
yeah.
think certain things in that test document were good because it
Mm,
separates this idea of certain elements from the
mm,
race element, but also
mm.
it goes into your background, which makes more sense. Although
Yeah,
some apparently Pathfinder's already doing that, so I mean,
yeah,
great, fantastic. Go look at Pathfinder as well, and also for other
exactly.
reasons. But
Uh,
yeah, no, we are also recording this at a time when there's a lot of discourse going on, and I just wanted to add on to that point that
yeah.
our community, this D&D community, is incredible, and
Mm,
the only thing I wanted to say on it, with
mm,
this all talk about contracts and OGL stuff, the only
mm.
thing we'll say on it from this point is, it's so important to have these licenses to encourage people to keep creating and to
Yeah,
make money should they want to, and to
yeah,
create stuff without the worry of these things being
yeah.
stolen or being taken advantage of. And it's such a refreshing thing to see
Mm.
everyone sort of come together and talk about it
Yeah,
and push back. And I actually, I've never seen anything like it.
it was really beautiful to see the community rallying together as a whole
Yeah.
on against something that is really important. I read a really lovely piece about it. Is that it
Mm.
gave the OGL gave, particularly through the pandemic, a lot of people the opportunity to make a
Hmm.
living doing what they love.
Yep.
You know, and what it does, and what it had the opportunity of doing, because obviously they've talked about it, is had the opportunity of taking that away. One of the most beautiful things in the world, which is
Yes.
giving the people the opportunity to make amazing things and do something making money whilst enjoying it thoroughly,
Yes.
and made very big life-changing decisions to leave jobs that are potentially more secure, but you know what I mean, as in like this, it's a big change to go, I'm going to make content for a living, because that is self-employed, is a scary business,
Freelancing.
generally
Yeah.
freelancing
Yeah.
and all the
Yeah.
things that go along with it. And I think that a massive corporation who makes millions and billions of pounds coming along and saying we're going to take that away, or even it's just, well, it doesn't need to be said, does it? It's very obvious. And I think
It is obvious.
and it's
Yeah.
lovely to see people in the community, big names in the community as well, rallying behind it, being very vocal about it. I think has been really positive. It gets to people who might not know about it, which is really
Yes.
important. They have a
Mhm.
big following, and so it just reaches people who maybe just go on Twitter to see what high rollers are doing that week or something like
Yeah.
that.
I just wanted to point out again the original article that broke the news. Again, a link in the show notes. If
Yeah,
you've not, and I know we're not going to focus too much on it this episode because
yeah,
obviously all that's been said has been said. But I think what's important is that we can make a difference, and we've seen that
yeah,
other companies have heard and gone, well, we'll make
mm,
our own licenses so that you can play with our
yeah,
games and make stuff on that. The original article is by someone called Linda Coda, and they were the ones that wrote the story about this, the leaks and all that sort of thing. And obviously it's still, for us just now at the time of recording, it's still a developing story. We don't know what's going to be happening, but it's just, I think it's something that's so important. And considering how this community got behind it, is same thing with the Hadozi
mm,
controversy and Spelljammer. We can make a difference, and I
yeah,
think the more we talk about it and be that person to
yeah,
sign those letters and stuff, not attacking, I will
yeah.
say, not attacking people who work there, because that's not helpful.
Well, yeah, I think that's an obvious one, and I've seen some very sad stories out there about that, and I think it's
Awful. Yeah.
that's just we all should know, and we do know this, that these are not the people making the decisions that are,
No.
and it's. I've heard some horribles. I've seen some things, and I won't repeat them. But it's just,
No.
it's not. It's not the right way to go about it. But the Linda Codega article is really good. I think that their pieces are in IO9 are really positive, and I think
well researched,
well researched and
put
really
together.
good. Yeah, I know. I just like good journalism, and it seems like
Yeah.
IO9 have always done a little bit on TTRPGs. It sounds like they're going to be doing more on that. And I used to always like IO9 for my general sci-fi and nerdy stuff. So I think that's really good.
And the last thing I want to point out is that if you're not entirely sure, because it does, I think it's one of those things that does affect everyone, all those other players, even if you're not sure, it does affect you in some way. But I will say, if you're not 100% sure what's going on, look at the article, but also the memes have been spectacular. And I have looked, if you're not sure what's going on, read that article, read the follow-ups, and then look at all the memes.
Go to r/D&D memes,
Oh,
brutal. That'd be beautiful.
Anyway, I appreciate that's not what this episode is about, and I know again.
Is this when we? Is this when we?
No. I think it's important to address it, and also, so again, with the character options as well, there's been a lot of discourse on that, written by much better people. We will come to certain elements of it possibly later on if we feel like it.
Yeah, no, I think as we go through, I just think it was the word I was looking for was people have said it so much more eloquently than we have, and I think that. Yeah, I think there's some really great podcasts out there that have just talked about, and we were a bit late to the party already, so it was kind of like everyone said it now, and then it's kind of like we're just going to turn up and say the same thing and just go, we agree with basically everything that we've heard. The whole point of the unearthing of Arcana is that you, listeners, are unearthing the Arcana amongst the maze that is us rambling. And
so true. How did you know?
So now you have finally passed the test of the
15 minutes in,
15 minutes in, and have unearthed the Arcana, which is the Cleric.
Yes, the new Cleric. So Hamilton, my question to you is: have you ever played a Cleric?
Not to my knowledge.
No. So we've not done an episode on DM's Book Club about Clerics yet. So to be fair, as we normally do, we read the Unearthed, we go back to the Player's Handbook and we see what's there. And I will say, it feels like this class, I think, has been rewritten for the better.
Yeah.
I don't know, like all I know about clerics, Hamilton, right, is that they can turn the undead and basically go, oh, what CR rating is that undead? Is it a half? It's gone. And that's all I knew about it.
100%. Yeah, and it annoyed me, and it still does, and we'll talk about it then. This is another preview for Hamilton getting angry. I've had clerics in my games and played with clerics in my party. I'm assuming you've had some clerics in your parties?
Yes,
maybe.
I mean, I don't have as regular as many campaigns that are shorter. I've had that long campaign, which is plenty of fun.
And then, was anyone a cleric in that?
No.
We in my Dragon Heist I did. We had a cleric. We had a Death Domain cleric, a cleric of Baal, the god of murder.
Whoa.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Who then became a warlock to Asmodeus. So I told you it was an evil campaign. But they were evil in the sort of like PG-13 evil, because they were like wanted to be. They just agreed. We're going for the greed version. They were all capitalist, basically, I guess.
Yes, unfortunately, I feel like, as you know, there are like maybe certain tropes or stereotypes, like as you know, the druids, they're into nature, rangers, before the revised stuff, were not very good, and then clerics are like, they like gods, and they heal. Again, for me, they're not much of a fighter compared to a paladin, which is definitely more warrior type.
Well, they haven't got the health, which I always find weird, because they're always shown as these sort of, the classic image that I always go to is the one that's on the D&D Beyond and is in the Player's Handbook of the dwarven cleric, warhammer, armored up, and you're like, you get a D8?
Yeah.
They are very powerful in terms of the spells they can cast and the abilities they can do, as like with their divine spells are quite powerful, but also divine intervention. And I think even role-playing wise, you feel like you can allow them to get away with things based on their sort of relationship to this god, because they have the ability of some sort of divine nature, and divine beings are, very powerful. I think from a role-playing point of view, they're very interesting because of that dynamic, particularly. Agreed. Yeah, I've never really chosen. I've never gone, oh, I want to play a cleric, but I can see the benefits, and I enjoy having them in my campaigns if I had them. Sort of
For
thing.
me, and maybe this is just me boiling it down to like a really basic level, which it might just be too simplified. It feels like the other side of a coin with warlocks, in the sense of like they gain their powers from some other entity or some being, whereas the warlocks, it feels a bit seedy, she says with quotation marks, whereas
Yeah.
feels more righteous and good. And but at any time, perhaps, well, that's
Yeah.
more like paladins, where they could obviously they can break their oaths and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know per se, because again, we've not really looked in clerics in that detail, if their powers can be revoked or diminished because they've not been following
It
certain
doesn't
practices.
mention them, but it's
No,
happened, and I
I'm
always
sure
remember
it's
it in
happened.
Critical Role season 1 with Pike. She
Exactly.
lost favor with Sarenrae for a while and lost her ability to do her powers because she
Mm,
was moving too far away from the sort of intended purpose of
yeah.
Sarenrae, because I think she'd gone on a bit of a killing spree, I think, or something like that recently.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
has sort of been sort of neglecting it. And I think that's what I mean from a role playing point of view. You can have as much fun with it as you can with a warlock, and you don't have to have the sort and you can be it can be in a more positive light than the sort of
Yeah.
warlock one. But it comes back to my point as why have they put warlocks down with wizards and sorcerers and why they not put them with clerics? But we won't go back onto that again.
We won't go into that. Well, so the other thing I wanted to mention, and I'm sure it's in the player's handbook description of clerics,
Mm,
is they're pretty much a lot of the stuff that is the same sort of features and stuff like that. They've not changed too much. It's when they brought a new or switched things around,
mm,
certainly in the sort of main basic class, which we'll go on to. But one thing I just wanted to note
mm.
is that it talks about in the description this idea that some of even the most highest influential or highest sort of status person at a temple
I was gonna note,
aren't necessarily, yeah, they're
yeah,
not necessarily clerics. So there could be that awkwardness or that sort of tension where you turn up newbie level 1 like, oh, I'm just an acolyte, and but
yeah.
you can hear the gods speaking to you, whereas the people further up don't. And again, I thought that's just really, because that is such a classic trope.
That's been in a TV show, isn't it, or something like
Yeah.
that? But it's that sort of, yeah, the sort of I mean, that's what I mean from the role playing and the storyline mechanic. That sort of like the level 2 cleric who's got this amazing connection with the
Mm.
god, and this temple priest, or the high priest, who they've
Worked up the ranks,
worked for 40 years to become this, and they still haven't heard from
they
their
can't hear
god.
them. I
Yeah.
know.
And you
Oh.
just like, it's kind of, yeah, you can see how that could develop.
It's just the idea that this could be a flaw, but it doesn't have to be. Because
Yeah.
I just thought it was really
Mm,
interesting. It just talks about that incapable of harnessing this power,
mm.
even though you are there, you've created this community, and it's just interesting. I hadn't really considered it.
But I also took that as a very, again, a couple of things that they do, again, and they're doing with this is it feels like they're creating that as a world,
Mm.
and it says that not every acolyte, but in your world that could not be true.
Yes.
So again, it feels like, and I'm getting this sense that they are going to push a setting on this starter for
Mm.
D&D that is not going to just be like, here's your dungeon master's guide, your monster manual, and your player's handbook, but there is also, or contained within that, a guide to the Forgotten Realms or whatever system they're going to use, because they
Yes.
are bringing up a lot. They brought it up a lot in the character ones. We
Mm.
talked about that when we talked about languages, when we mentioned that in the last
Mm.
UA, and they're doing it a few other places where it's defining something much more of a type of world, a
Mm.
world in particular, because the old one just it doesn't say anything of that ilk. It's
No.
just gives you those beautiful, like, chanting a song of glory, a dwarf swings his axe sort of thing,
Yeah.
or pulling down a curse upon forces of undeath. It gives those sort of
Oh,
storylines. Then it
yes,
goes
that's
healers and
true.
warriors. It just says they have the power of the gods. Clerics are conduits of power. They harness divine magic. Doesn't rely on study and training. They combine this. It does not mention anything
Yeah.
on any type of reality. I don't know. I don't want to get too into the OGL either or anything like that. But this sense of like the openness of D&D in the sense, and I don't mean as why I'm saying it doesn't relate to that. I just mean in this
Yes.
whole idea that D&D and 5e really felt like they were pushing the idea of you create your worlds. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
This is the
Mhm.
game where you can do anything using our fantastic system, but
Yeah, like our little tool set. Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
making your own worlds. But this documents that we're reading now definitely feels more like
Mm.
talks about the outer planes in relation to it, talks about what we just said about not all acolytes have this, and which then creates a reality. That's all.
It could well be then maybe Planescape, but I also think Fandelver or Phandalin,
Mm.
because that's coming out as a full-on setting,
Yeah,
so it could be that as well. So yeah, I'd say
but
so.
that is in the Forgotten Realms.
Well,
Phantom.
that's, yeah, no, no, absolutely. So
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean, it might be just come with the sort of primer for the Forgotten
I
Realms
think
as
so.
part of the player's guide, player's handbook,
Mm,
and maybe the DM's guide is. I'm just thinking of like other systems that we've been looking at, like obviously the
mm,
Lord of the Rings system from Free League. That one is obviously set in the world of the Middle Earth, but
yeah,
most other systems, or the Blade Runner one, they come with a setting. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And I feel like they might do that this time as Warlock is getting
Mm.
going
Yeah,
up.
no, no, absolutely. No, I definitely, that would be really interesting. I guess, I mean, I won't lie, I would like to see a version of the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide that's not the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide because it
Yeah.
is boring. I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll have to go through. We'll do our other proposed
Yeah.
idea of the travel booklet, but
If you think at the
I
writers of
oh
Minks and Booze, Journal of
yes,
Innerly, then great,
perfect,
you know,
perfect. Yeah, but not. Oh
or
god,
anyone.
oh,
But no,
anyone else. But so yeah, just looking at the class features like as an overall before we're getting in, the main thing, and I will say this is mentioned in the video that has Jeremy Crawford in it, and I didn't realize this because again, I haven't played clerics, I haven't necessarily played fighters. I think was the other one he mentioned in the original version of this class. You had to pick your subclass at level 1,
Yeah,
and the reason they've sort of changed it now to third is because they've realised there's been this shift in the last 8 years, and I'm sure this was happening anyway, whereby you would play a couple of early sessions as a one shot, maybe two,
mm.
and so you didn't want to necessarily be locked into a
I
choice.
totally agree. That's the one thing I found. It's the only one I could. The Warlock is the only other one you have to do that with as
Mm,
well, isn't it? And I wonder if they're going to do that with the Warlock. But I also find it that you can't do a Warlock without having the Pact. And
yeah.
how can you be a cleric who can speak to their god without knowing which god?
Mm. Maybe it. I mean, I guess it's just like a generic holiness before getting in, because they were saying as well they wanted to design these classes so that not only for new players
Yeah,
friendly, but also for veteran players to try a class they haven't tried before and not be
yeah.
locked in. But also, and again, I hadn't considered this because I don't really multi-class
Mm.
my characters. Is that if people are like, I'll do a few dips here, I'll do a few dips there. If you're going to dip into cleric to have that bit of healing, you're then having to like, okay, I'm also this particular
Yeah.
domain rather than just having one here or one there. So I thought it was really interesting because I hadn't really thought about that, and I
Mm.
again hadn't realized that in the initial one, you had to choose your subclass essentially at level
But
1.
I think that would be really weird that if I did say to you, you don't choose your warlock patron until level 3.
I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it? Because now that we've made that now that we've made that comparison between one
Yeah.
side of the coin and the other, yeah, I don't know.
I can understand that maybe you could play it that the cleric doesn't is not aware who is giving them these powers, and that's how you'd
Mm-hmm.
have to sort of play it. I imagine is that you've been given this divine calling, but you're not sure who. But it
Mm.
feels like you're being forced into that, whilst you could choose it anyway, and then you could play that either way. Whilst
Mm.
in this scenario, you're sort of being like, oh, you know what your divine domain is at the beginning.
I
I
mean,
don't know. It just make me just that's all.
no, no,
It's
no. I
just
think I think
yeah.
it's a very good point. I think just because we've been baked into that lore, but at the same time, on this podcast, we did a bonus episode about 0 level characters
I was gonna
who
say
didn't have
yeah.
anything like that. So
Mm.
I mean, for me, the easiest choice would be like everyone starts at level 3, but obviously that doesn't make anything
When
easier.
I've done that with any veteran players I have, I would start a campaign at level 3 unless they were desperate to start. I would suggest let's start at 3 because we all don't
Almost died by a cat. Yeah.
yeah, we don't need to know that you can get killed by a cat because we've done that now, and so we you've got that learning experience that you get from 1 to 2. That was one of the things I had on my list of like this is strange to not
Hmm.
choose, but I also think but it does fit more with the rest of the
Yeah.
classes.
Because now going back to multiclassing, I appreciate we've not had the Warlock revised class come out yet,
Mm,
but I guess yeah, if you're gonna dip into Warlock, and you're
yeah.
like, oh god, now I've got to wait 3 bloody levels before I can like choose something.
Yeah, I think it's also the new one we're going to talk about second level. How can you know what holy order you're going to have if you don't know what your god who your god is? I don't. I think I feel like maybe unless it's like you choose your god, but you don't get your subclass
Mm.
stuff until later. It's just that,
Hmm.
and you can do that, can't you? Nothing to stop you. Obviously, saying okay, well, I'm
No.
going to go down the life domain route.
Hmm.
That's my plan for now. And you kind of sort of have to choose it from a role playing point of view, is what I'm getting at
Yeah.
early enough, or don't if you want to go down the I don't know who these voices are, I don't know who this where this magic's coming from.
So let's then go into level 1, what
Mhm.
class features you get. So we get, first off, Channel Divinity, because that used to be a level 2 thing, and they've
Yeah.
changed it quite a bit. And again, this is coming from people who have not played or not read Clerics. So originally, and I knew this with Channel Divinity, is that you could get it once per long rest, or you
Mhm.
have that at least 2 uses.
Mm.
Once you've used it, then you have to wait for a long rest. Now they do the revised thing of like it's now equal to proficiency bonuses, so you can do it
Mm.
as up to at least 6 times, which is brill.
Yeah.
And also, again, something I didn't realize because obviously everyone has turn undead,
Undead. Yep.
and then originally you'd get one from your domain,
Mm.
but now it's like here is to make up for the fact that we've moved the subclass down a bit, we get another one instead, which is Divine Spark.
Yeah.
Which is you roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus and then add the rolls together. You either restore hit points to a creature within 30 feet of you to that total, or force them to make a constitution saving throw, and if they fail that save they take the radiant damage, or half if they make it.
I was trying to figure out what the Constitution saving throw DC was because it doesn't say, and I'm just assuming it's your spell save
Yeah,
DC.
it says DC equal to your spell save from this class spellcasting features
Where does it say? Oh, did I miss that?
above Divine Spark.
Ah, that's why. Yeah.
Don't worry, I can never read that tiny bloody writing.
But I thought the Divine Spot made me think of the power of Christ compels you. So
Yes,
that's kind of what it is.
No, but it feels very much like, it feels very Exorcist, doesn't it?
But can I just do my little mini rant then?
Go for it, Hamilton. I'm excited.
Turn undead. Why is it not choose monster
a type.
here
Yeah.
that fits with your cleric domain? Because if
With
you're
your idea,
if you're a
yeah.
death domain cleric,
Yeah.
why are you turning undead?
You should be.
Or if you're a necromantic cleric, or you're just a cleric that's God is not really bothered by the undead and is their key vengeance is against demons or something like that. Why is it not?
Yeah, choose a creature type.
Yeah,
and go from there.
that's kind
I
of
agree.
all I was just wondering. I mean, maybe from the sort of like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how you break it down, but it just felt weird that it's always, why does clerics take the undead? What have they ever done to cleric? I mean, I get it, but it's very much focusing on a particular type of religious sort of theory, and I think that actually it would be good if it had that. I mean, again, as we always say, you can just do that in your games at home.
I think that's an incredibly good point. Actually, I would make it that you choose a creature type.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing. Again, they've changed this slightly from the. In a way, I did realize this. So they've basically, it's that same thing within each, say, creature type, instead of undead within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, in the original one they would have to move away because they were sort of frightened of you and keep back, essentially. Now they have a dazed condition for a minute unless they take any damage or you're incapacitated, and basically they have to use a dash action, and if it moves, it's got to move further away from you than when it started. So it's the same sort of thing, but instead of being very afraid of you like all the time, you can't just chase them round. They have a minute, and if they take damage they stop because they come out of that.
But if it moves, it must move further from you than it was when it started.
Yeah, exactly. But like, again, if you damage it, it comes out of its confusion. Its dazed effect as well. And again, something we'll talk about towards the end of this episode perhaps is that dazed condition is a newish condition that I hadn't really heard of before. I like it. We were talking off podcast that it feels very much similar. We see it in video games a little bit. We see it in other RPGs. So it's I think it's a good one to have here. With that one, it's you have this condition and you can either do an action or you can move, but you can't do both. Which makes sense to me.
We didn't go through the sort of proficiency starting equipment stuff.
I believe, although you will tell me otherwise, no doubt, I thought it was all vaguely the same.
Everything is the same, and they do the thing that they've done with the other expert classes, which is giving you proficiency preferences, which is persuasion, religion, or choose two from, and then gives you the ones that are exactly the same in the current one. The only thing that I found interesting was that the starting equipment choice says chain shirt, holy symbol, mace, priest pack, shield, 7 GP. And I really would have thought they would have gone for Warhammer because it's the one they use always in the army. That's all. I just thought it was kind of funny they went for mace. That was really the only point I wanted to make on it. It doesn't really mean much, but it was just kind of like, I just was like, no Warhammer. I thought, I don't know, maybe because of Warhammer, but I just sort of, I just thought like that's in my mind, the classic cleric is the dwarf and cleric
that image
with Warhammer, and that was just all that came to me. It's not a big one.
Again, you could just give them a Warhammer.
You can make your own choices. I just thought it was funny that their preferred choice was a mace. That was all. I don't know.
And then, the same old with the getting back to level 1, you still got the spell casting, exactly the same as we talked about previously in the expert one, so we don't need to go over that as well. I guess the only thing to note, if you're interested, again, suggested spells,
Yes.
Cure Wounds, Sacred Flame, Shield of Faith, Spare the Die, and Thaumaturgy. So and then if you wanted to
Yes.
pick your own, you just got to make sure they're all from the Divine Spell list.
Yes.
So again, they're reinforcing that whole, it's 3 different categories of spell, of divine, primal, and arcane. Next, level 2. This is a new one, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit before. Holy Order. So you have dedicated yourself to one of the following sacred roles. And then it goes, either on your own or part of a religious order. I'm just like, I feel so smug. I am definitely this role. But essentially, like 3 different styles. For me, I can see them like being like fighting styles, or a little bit extra essentially. And you have 3. You've got Protector, you've got Scholar, and then I'm going to say this wrong, Thaumaturge. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Thaumaturge?
Yeah, Thaumaturge. Yeah, yes.
Like thaumaturgy.
I don't know. I always panic when it's a word I say out loud and not in my head. So so with the Protector, you get extra proficiency in martial weapon and heavy armor training. With Scholar, you have this studying and teaching of lore of the gods and the multiverse, gaining you proficiency in 2 of the following skills. And then it says, and I'm going to ask you to clarify this because I wasn't 100% sure. So whenever you make an ability check using either skill, you gain a bonus to the check equal to your wisdom modifier. Is that like you're proficient, but then also
plus whatever your wisdom modifier is? Yeah.
Damn.
So it could be like double proficiency.
Yeah.
So that's it. So you could have a proficiency modifier +3 and then a wisdom modifier, which is going to be high because you're a cleric anyway. So it's going to be probably like +5, maybe even
5, maybe 7 or something. I was just like, oh my god, because if you've already got like, I don't know, proficiency at the beginning with,
you start with +2, don't you?
Yes,
and so you can have up to a +4 in the stat, can't you?
Yeah.
If you roll well enough, so you could have +6 on a roll already at level 2.
At level 2, yeah,
that's pretty good.
And then the final one, delving deeper into your divine magical abilities, you can prepare 1 extra cantrip from the divine spell list.
Interesting that you said that, because they keep using 0 level spell half the time, and then cantrip on the actual spell list thing says cantrips. But I wonder if they're actually going to get rid of cantrip and just use 0 level spell.
Oh god, that makes it sound so bloody mathy, and I don't know.
I know, but I think it's probably easier for people coming in.
Oh no, I don't like
what's
change.
a cantrip? And it's like, well, it's a spell that you can do because it's different to a spell. But I think they're going to call them 0 level spells.
Does cantrip have another meaning that I'm unaware of? Like, I don't know, it means cow in a certain language or something.
No, I don't think so. I don't even know where the word comes from, cantrip.
I only know it purely through D&D as a throwaway spell.
It's a cantrip is a word of the Scots origin to mean a magical spell of any kind, or one which reads the same forwards and backwards. It can also be a witch's trick or a sham. It's possibly derived from the Gaelic canterech, a piper's mnemonic chant.
Whoa, look at that. That's pretty cool.
So
the more you know.
Yeah, but I did find 0 level spells. I'm not a fan of that title, but I imagine that's where they're going. I had that feeling.
It makes. I will admit, I get a bit of an ick from that. Like, ugh.
On Holy Order, I think it's nice. I think it. When we're talking about role playing, I think that it adds another. I always like giving more things, as I always say, it's all the time, to characters to allow them to develop more of a role playing or characterization of what their personage is, and so. In this regard, it gives you something to focus on that is outside of the sort of like, oh, I'm focused on this god, but actually, yes, it kind of delves into the sort of functioning and the actual mechanics of being in some sort of religious order, be that individually or as a group order. I think that's kind of interesting. It gives you something else to like take on. Like, yeah, I might be part of the Death Domain, but I'm a scholar in the Death Domain, so I'm just really about the lore of Death Domain than I am about the sort of death part of the Death Domain. Do you know what I mean? Or the sort of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting in that way. And you can see a place for that. And it's like, if you enjoy playing those sort of different characterizations, it kind of gives you something to work with, which I think could be kind of interesting.
I hadn't really considered it, but obviously the Protector, you're maybe a bit more offensive in a way. Scholar, absolutely the studying sort of archetype there. But I do like the idea of a thaumaturge is like a theatre person. And it's like, I have an extra spell, it's smoke bomb, haha, and bonfire, ooh.
Yeah. Exactly. I take it as much as well. The sort of like, yeah, I'm focusing on the power of the god and trying to like meditate in a way that gives me this ability to connect more or something like that. But yes, you
Yeah.
could take it I
Take
like
it
that
the
way.
dramatic route.
The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dramatic way, yeah.
Yeah, because you'd be putting on like the passion plays, that sort of thing where the mummers plays. You're like, and
Yeah.
now we see the story of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And then they do the little maquettes and stuff,
Yeah,
and people, yeah.
absolutely. Oh well,
Right. Okay.
now I want to play a cleric just for that reason. Now at level 3 we've got the subclass,
Hmm.
and then so we'll come back to that. We'll come back to basically as everyone knows in the UA we have sort of the main class, and then they have a
Yeah.
suggested subclass, and it's this one is the life domain, which everyone I think is aware of.
Yeah.
It's the most popular one in the
Yeah.
player's handbook, or at least the most rememberable one, the most renowned one. That's what I'm thinking
I
of.
guess that's the right way. Yeah.
Yes, that's the word I'm thinking of. Level 4 is a feat, and that would be normally ability score improvement, but
Hmm.
obviously now there's this focus on feats, which is fine. And then we've got Smite Undead instead
Yeah.
of Destroy Undead.
Because they're getting rid of CR, as I
Yes.
called last time. As I said, I bet you they're getting rid of CR because it's confusing and no one understands it. And the
Yeah.
fact that they've done this, I'm like, that proves that, I think, to me now. What do you think of it? Smite Undead.
Yeah, so just to describe it, so this time that Smite Undead, whenever you use Turn Undead, so that Child Divinity from level 1, you roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus and then add the rolls together. Each Undead that fails its saving throw against the Turn Undead takes that radiant damage equal to its roll's toll. Compared to the Destroy Undead, is that if it's a certain CR rating, then it's dead. And then that would go up the levels, and that's basically what the original cleric was. They just like you just got more and more powerful at killing up to,
Yeah.
I think it was CR4. Yeah, I think it's good. You get up to 68 in total by the end of it, so that's not bad. But again,
Pretty
maybe
OP.
it's pretty OP. But again, I would suggest, as you rightly put, with turn undead. Why just focus on dead? Turn a creature type. It should affect that creature type. That's the only thing I would say on top of that. Really,
I just can see it mainly for like demons and devils as kind of the classic ones that you think, or if you are an evil cleric, celestials and stuff like that. Maybe keeping it to something that's like not necessarily monsters, but like
yes.
aberration, sort of things that
Yeah.
that I'm thinking of, like I just think you could tailor it to your deity. That's the only thing I think is just not tailored to a deity, and so because not all that's all. I just don't think all deities don't like undead. That was kind of
exactly. Or they are undead in some way, or absolutely, or they get on very famously with undead. Like I'm sure there is one out there, but I just want to see like a domain of ooze or gunk or something, and you're like, I cast you out, gunk, fly. And it's like level 6 again. You get another subclass feature, and then level 7, a new thing. We have Blessed Strikes, Divine Power.
Yeah, I was, yeah, exactly. I didn't, I was trying to find it, and I was like, it's not in there, is it? So
No.
yeah, it is a new thing. No, it's not a new thing.
Is it not?
It's not. It is an optional class feature, and it was an optional class feature from Tasha's. So the other ones that are missing from that is we could go on Blessed Strike. Blessed Strike was in there as it is written as an 8th level choice that you could take, which replaces the Design Strike or Potent Spellcasting feature, I think is what it was called before. You also could have the additional things was you could get a first additional cleric spells in the first level cleric feature, Harness Divine Power, which is you can expend a use of Channel Divinity to fuel your spells. As a bonus action, you touch a holy seal or utter a prayer and regain 1 extended health slots. So basically, just exchange spell slots for you do some warlocking or sorcery points sort of thing. Cantrip versatility at 4th level. Whenever you reach a level in this class, grants the ability score improvement feature. You can replace one cantrip you learn from this class's spell feature with another cantrip from the cleric spell list. So it just is a switchy over instead of a ability score improvement. So that was the other ones. But yeah, Blessed Strikes was in
Well, there you go.
I thought I'd heard it before. I couldn't find it in the normal one, then I kept scrolling and then I found it. So that was
interesting. Divine Power infuses you in battle. When a creature takes damage from you from one of your cantrips or level 0 spells, or your attacks with weapons, you can also deal 1d8 radiant damage to that creature. Once you deal this damage, you can't use this feature again until the start of your next turn. Feels very much like a smite. But obviously, do it over and over again. You could do it once per attack, your turn. So on at least one attack. I like it. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool.
It makes me think there's a bit of paladin in us going with the smite undead and Blessed Strikes, but it's fine.
Level 8, another feat. Level 9, Holy Order. Your sacred duties have expanded. Ooh,
Holy Order, Batman.
You've I'd be a part of that order. Sacred duties have expanded, probably because you've chosen to be, rather than
Yes.
allow you to choose a second option from the Holy Order feature. I mean, cool, I guess.
I feel that doesn't feel right to
No.
me. That doesn't sit well because it's like you focus on being a scholar, and then it's like instead of saying like how we can make all of those three
Yeah,
better,
better. Yeah,
we've just
exactly.
gone, take another one. I'm going to
Nah.
say wizards. I'm going to send that back in the post and ask you to rework that
Yeah.
and come back to me, and then you'll get remarking. I'm not going to mark that until you're not going to mark it
Well,
until
it's
you've done
true.
your homework properly.
Well, they do that on other things where they're like, oh, you're this kind of whatever sorcerer, and you get
Yes.
these moves, and so it makes
I'm
sense.
thinking
You'd
of
have
the feats that we talked about in regards to Dragonlance and the
that's it. Yeah,
that's exactly it. And the orders gaining you got, and the planescape ones that we're going to get as well.
Yeah,
To do with
the different planes. Yeah,
the
and
different
they
planes.
increase. Yeah,
Yeah, and you get an increased version of it, and and you follow that list down. And I was like, well, you already worked that up. You can do this here, I think, and it's quite obvious.
Yeah, I guess like protector, you just get like, I don't know, better two-handed weapons or something like that. I don't know. Like,
or you gain, I don't know, you could gain basically Great Weapon Master feat for free or something, or add that in there, even though they've nerfed it.
I know.
And then Scholar, maybe you can double your Wisdom modifier, and also you can make, maybe you could get the bonus action investigation thing from the insight, bonus action insight, like from Mastermind.
Yeah, I think we should just expand on it. Like, it feels lazy at this point. If you've expanded it for the other classes and other features, then why not do it for this one?
Exactly, that's it. And they know how to do that. They've got lots of people working for them. They could just write it.
Level 10, another subclass feature, which we'll come onto. And then, again, we've mentioned this earlier, but originally was a level 10, but now a level 11. Divine Intervention. As an action, you can call on your deity or pantheon to intervene on your behalf when your need is great. Describe the assistance you seek and roll a percentile dice. If you roll a number equal to or lower than your cleric level, the divine power intervenes. The DM chooses the nature of it, and the effect of any divine spell is appropriate. Interestingly, if it does happen, you can't use this feature again for 2d6 days. Before, it was just 7 days. And otherwise you can use it again after long rest, which is the same. I mean, we know it. We've seen it on streams before, and it's always like we could do it. Or got to get under 11 chance we might do it.
It's a bit of a roll, isn't it? It's like, because it's not until it used to be level, well, we're going to get to it. Up to a level 20, you're trying to roll on a D100.
Like a 1 in 5 chance.
It's not a big, exactly. But it's a cool thing, and when it happens, it's pretty cool.
I think it allows that a lot of fun, not only with the player, but with the DM as well, going, okay, what is it that you exactly need? Level 12, a feat. Level 14, subclass. Level 16, a feat. It's just like, okay, have we run out of things? It's because they've taken away the destroy undead thing, and it's you're gaining power to hurt undead rather than destroy them. And then you've got at level 18, greater divine intervention. Basically, when you use your divine intervention, it just succeeds automatically. What?
That was the level 20.
20, yeah.
And that was actually probably one of the few level 20s that was actually kind of cool, because you got something pretty cool out of it. But better 18th level, and we've already. Then you get it's very and you get 2d4 days if it succeeds, so that's pretty cool. So it could be every 2 days you're doing this minimum. You then get another feat. You're basically a hecaton Kiri's. There's a reference for you.
There's a reference for you. My God! Wow! Whoa!
And then at 20th level, we'll get an epic boon, and we've said enough about epic boons.
Yes, epic boon of fate. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but everyone's going to take that epic boon of get 40 hit points.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, exactly. Or luck or anything like that.
And then it talks about the cleric spells, which I don't think we need to go through those.
We know some of them have been changed a little bit, like again at the end of the thing. So the ones that are underlined in the document have changed in some way. Although sometimes I read them and I go, have I been playing it wrong? Yeah, it's right at the back. Yeah. What, like spiritual weapon? I was like, I'm sure it could do all that, but I don't know. Maybe I've been playing D&D wrong all this time. But yes, it's one of those things that you can understand them changing a few of the spells and stuff. Although, as we were sort of lamenting off cameras, like they've changed banishment and they've nuked it and they've nuked
Yeah.
Great Weapon Master, and it's
Yeah.
not fun anymore. You can't do these ridiculous, outrageous things because it's all a little bit generic. But
Great Weapon Master was the best. It's so good. I don't know why you would change it. The idea of prepared that provides recommended spells, we talked about this before, was the same. They did that with the ranger and they did
yeah,
that with the bard, and it's because they want to make it very easy for people to jump in and figure it out. But you're right, banishment is crapper. Great
yeah,
Weapon Master is crapper.
yeah,
I think it's decomplicating some things, and we said this last time as well.
yeah.
Sometimes they overcomplicate something to just decomplicate something else, and which is probably just so it seems like they've actually done something.
Maybe, but also maybe they just want to, like, I don't know, make it so that anyone can play. But I'm like, yeah, but we don't want to, like, it gets to a point where, like, yes, there's ease of access and stuff, but we are smart people sometimes. I can put a combo together in Horizon Forbidden West eventually, and I can do it. But you know, it just
Yeah.
I made the combat document, as you know, and I refer to it every single session, and like I enjoy that. That's something I like, but. I don't know. Maybe it's that something where maybe it's made it too easy for people. They're like, oh, we just want people to drop in and out. I don't know. So
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm not 100% sold that that's the complete truth though, because it feels like they're doing that in some places, and it feels like they're not in others, which weird. But that's, I don't know. I don't know. I think sometimes it's mucking about with something for the sake of mucking about with something as well.
Yeah. Well, shall we move on then to the subclass that they've mentioned? So yes, life domain focuses on the vibrant, positive energy. Blah.
Anti-Fiona energy.
The masters of healing, essentially. Again, you know what you were saying before about them sort of stripping out certain details and stuff. Interestingly, they've stripped out the associated gods. Because in the original, they sort of named a few gods that you could be a part of to give you some inspiration. Whereas now it's just like, you know, agricultural deities, sun gods, gods of healing or endurance, or gods of home and community.
Yeah. Which is interesting because that kind of goes against my idea that they are making it for a system, a setting. So then I don't know, they kind of change. Yeah, it kind of changes it up. But the thing that it has a very similar layout, but obviously it starts at third level rather than at first level. So that's where you used to get that bonus proficiency in heavy armor, which is where you got your classic. But you get that from your holy order now. In second level. Because that was the first level benefit, and then you got a disciple of life, which was your healing spells are more effective when you ever use a spell at first level higher. Restore hit points to a creature. The creature gains additional hit points equal to 2 plus spells level. Well, that is now there at third level instead of at first level. And the preserve life used to be a channel divinity that you got at second level, but you now get it at sixth level. Again, blessed healer. But we'll go through these. My point was, we'll start back. Sorry, I'm going ahead of myself. The spells, they have changed one thing in the spells, which is they removed spiritual weapon.
I did see that.
And added in prayer of healing, which is a new spell, and makes so much sense when it's like, we're all about preserving life. Spiritual weapon to kill everything.
Yes, agreed. It was quite funny.
When everything else is like death ward, guard in your face, mass cure wounds, and then spiritual weapon just feels, you know, because you get heavy armor, so it's protecting yourself, preserving life, making sure you can look after people. And I think from a conceptual point of view, it makes more sense to have the prayer of healing than spiritual weapon.
Yeah, I was going to say the original spells that they were, so the ones that they've taken out are Bless, Cure Wounds, Spiritual Weapon, as you've said, Beacon of Hope, which is quite sad because I kind of liked Beacon of Hope, Guardian of Faith, and then finally Raise Dead, because I think they're like, oh, we don't talk about that side of the faith.
But again, you can Raise Dead in a life domain spell. Yeah, right, which I think is, you create Raise Dead is when you create an undead, right? Yeah, it's necromancy. You turn a dead creature you touch to life. Oh no, it's
Raise Dead. I think that's like a come back to life for anyone.
Come back to life thing. Oh, so that does make sense.
No. I know, but I just thought it was. I mistook it first. Sorry, that was my fault. I thought it was like Raise Undead.
That's what I thought. Yeah, so I was like, that makes no sense. Yeah, so okay, yeah.
Oh, I read. Oh, my 2 pages of my spellbook are stuck together. Balls. So the one thing I wanted to mention on that level 6 now preserve life channel divinity. So it's changed slightly. It's mostly it's the same. But it says now you choose any creature within 30 feet of you and divide these, these a number of hit points 5 times your cleric level. And it says in brackets, you can choose yourself. It didn't say that in
It
the
didn't.
old one, which made me laugh because I can imagine people going, "Oh no, I'm dying, but here, have more health. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine."
Yeah, because it normally would say, yeah, and sometimes you say any feature, or it's like, and sometimes spells would say 30 feet of you, but then in the actual description would say touch as well. Like they
Yes.
have the range and touch. So that kind of made you know, but because it's not a spell, it doesn't have that. So it's, yeah, it's a good point. Blessed Healer is you cast spell at first level higher that restores hit points to a creature other than you gain hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. So
You get some. You like
you get
some for you and some for me.
it's
Yes.
the same as it used to be, just at a higher level. And then Supreme Healing at 14th,
Yeah.
you basically get to
Max it out
max it,
essentially.
max it. Yeah.
And again, is exactly the same. Very little has changed on this one, but yeah, it's great. I love that. So instead of restoring 2d6 hit points to a creature,
Mm.
you restore 12. And you're like, oh yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it makes sense why they got rid of beacon of hope.
Less hitty bitty, as I put.
That obviously that's all there is in this document for Cleric. So overall, I
Mm.
think good because I've not really played anything, so I appreciate it. Obviously, that's not very helpful to our listeners going, but you should know more.
Yeah.
I feel like if you just took the cleric by itself, without any of these life domains, it feels initially maybe if you were looking at it a certain way, a little bit like that ranger class. It didn't feel as complete, and it makes more sense, I guess, with these domains that they are more interconnected with. They have a certain theme or they have a certain god compared to the ranger, which should have all these things. If you see what I mean. So
Mm.
I was noticing my own feelings of similarity there, but I think I agree. Like the undead thing, I think thanks to you pointing it out, I was like, yeah, why can't we just pick something? Why can't we have
Yeah.
a favored type of enemy against the pantheon that we
Yeah.
all dislike because of the teachings, and which you can change
Yeah.
possibly depending on your role play?
Well, even then, I mean, or don't have that at all. Just have, I don't know, just have it as a not turn anything. Have it as a
Yeah,
just have it as a turn anything, turn everything thing. Doesn't
turn
have to be a
everything and anything,
particular, like
turn everything everywhere all at once.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly. No, but it's just like turn creatures who are
evil aligned
no, or no,
perhaps.
attacking you, as in
Oh
like
yeah, that's the yeah, protecting
aggressive
you.
towards you. Is like you can decide who those, or you can turn anyone. You can turn your friends, sort of thing. You can literally choose
Yeah, choose
any
a creature.
creature within 30 feet. And I'm kind of down for that because I think
Yeah.
it's this funny, it's again that sort of sense of like it's a very old fashioned thing that's still stuck in there that could just easily transition to like
Mhm.
if you're in the life domain you have the turn undead and you get benefit if it's undead or something. About I don't know, I
Mhm.
don't really know, or whatever your teachings are you can maybe work that in with your
Mhm.
DM. But I think if it was just like you get to do this feature to anyone within 30 feet would
Yeah.
probably just make more sense. Do I think clerics are a great class? Do I think this version of clerics is a good improvement? It's really what I
Mhm.
mean to be saying.
Yeah.
Is I like the Holy Order. I think they can make it better, as we've mentioned,
Yeah.
by having it scale. And I think that the life domain makes more sense.
Mhm.
And the thing that I really enjoyed in the expert classes
Mhm.
was the expertness that they made, which was you
Yes.
gain these
Yeah.
expertise
Yeah.
features quite regularly. And they haven't
Yeah.
done that necessarily
Does
for
it feel like
this.
you get more like power or you get
Yeah.
more like I don't know, connection to your god? Because there used to be
Mm.
like spells which you'd be like, you can ask your god 3 questions and they say yes, no, not sure.
Commune.
Yeah, commune. It doesn't feel special. But I don't. Again, I don't know if that's just because I've never played a cleric and I not necessarily have a
Yeah.
desire to. I don't know. I
I
just
just feel like with
yeah
the priests as they call them, which I'm not a fan of, as we
yeah
said, I
we've
think
said
sages
that
and
yeah.
mages is the better version.
I
But
love that yeah.
with the class group, that I think what I liked about, as much as it's not highly evolved idea, it's just you get expertise in things, but it makes sense, and it did feel like those classes had
Mm,
become about becoming focused on them and becoming being able to get proficient in things, which makes a lot of sense,
mm,
whilst this feels like it could do with just something that could go across all of these things, that is
mm.
about that class group. So
Yeah.
we're just doing feet, but it could be,
Yeah, it'd feel a bit boring, to be honest
yeah.
with you.
And they've got
Yeah.
spaces at 13th, 15th and 17th, and they could
Mm.
just fill that with something maybe
I
like,
wonder if their argument was that, oh, you get higher spell slots at those ones, hence
but more channel.
why.
I know the channel
Yeah,
divinity grows with
I'm
it.
surprised there's no. You don't have a selection of channel
Yeah.
divinities. You know, like
Or
how warlocks you can get certain boons and packs and stuff.
I don't know, like more on the divine intervention or more divine like abilities, like I
Like
don't.
a proper shield of faith comes up or
Yeah,
something. Yeah, you
aura
can.
effects that like they do
Yeah,
in the paladins. I don't.
paladins. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't got the answer off the top of my head, and I'm sure there's someone out there who's already done something that probably is great. And but it's yeah, I'm sure there's an idea in there that could be really
Well, I
really
think
cool.
I think it definitely feels like to me that we should definitely do a clerics episode and go through all the domains, and maybe that's when it makes a bit more sense. Because again, for me, I've only ever seen clerics as like, oh, those are the ones that heal, and then I watch streams of clerics who don't heal, which is totally fine. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Let's chat a little bit about some of the glossary stuff. So with each
Yes.
UA, some new glossary terms, and some of the terms that they're going to go, or they're testing out or changing going forward and stuff. Some of them make sense. I think again, there's that what you were saying before about
Mm,
Hamilton talking about like if people are new to the game, they might not know what certain things are. I'll start straight off the bat. I don't like what's happened to exhaustion. Essentially, exhaustion used to be a really fun thing where it was very descriptive, very role play. Every level you got, it was something different, which would reduce your character quite a bit. Now they've just reduced it to a number, whereby
mm,
when you do your D20 tests, which is again another word I do not like,
mm,
but you would take that number away from whatever your final thing
yeah.
was, and then you can get up to 10 levels of exhaustion, and then that's when you would pass on, shuffle off this mortal
Mm,
coil. But I just feel that's really fucking boring. Like I just like okay, sure, you might be like, oh, okay, I've got a -5 to this, but I also have a +6 to my roll, so
yeah.
it's only a plus. It's like, oh, that's boring compared to you have disadvantage on ability checks. You can only move at half movement. All that sort of
Yeah.
malarkey, which is more interesting. All attacks are advantage. But I guess it's just because they don't like having negative effects on people. So this is like maybe they're again like you said before, trying out new things. But it just makes it so clinical and so when we should be doing more and more role play stuff,
Yeah.
and not having it like 17, 20, 0, 0. It's like
Yeah.
it's not a number. It shouldn't be a number game, but although it
Yeah.
is a number game.
It is the end of the day, but no, I know what you mean. And it's strange when we talk about it being about role playing focus, and we had
Mm.
things like While We Were on the Witchlight coming out only,
Yeah.
well, it feels probably a while now, a year and a half ago or something, maybe
Hmm.
even I don't know. That was really amazing push towards the lack of
Yeah.
like these sort of things. But maybe that's what it is. It's streamlining these background ideas so that
Mm.
to in the thought process that it frees up the other elements of the game.
Hmm.
I don't know. And to be honest, the only person that will know is Crawford and Co.
Crawford and Perkins.
Yeah, Crawford Perkins and Co.
Yeah, yeah.
As to what the thing is. And I haven't actually watched any of those videos you mentioned. I saw them on there, but I didn't actually
I
watch them
mean,
because I'd rather just get it with my own idea reading it. Yeah.
I will say the videos are helpful, but when you see like say for example the character options one, that's an hour long. I timed two the shit out of that watching it because I'm a busy woman. I don't
You
have
say that
time to
people will be
listen.
doing that to us.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
I'm
I'm
sure
sure they
they do.
do.
I'm sure they do.
So, was there any terms that stood out to you, Hamilton? That you were
Yeah,
like,
the grappled condition.
mm,
You figured out the reason why it's different, but I didn't realize the grapple. So grapple originally did your speed to 0. The grappler can drag or carry you when it moves, but the grappler suffers the slow condition. This is new, but it's tiny. But you were movable, but you couldn't move basically yourself. And escape was that you had to make a saving escape. The grapples escape DC at the end of your turns,
mm-hmm,
which ends the condition, or if they're incapacitated or they get banished or
mm-hmm,
something like that. But it then added in attacks affected. You have disadvantage on attack rolls against any target other than the grappler. That makes sense because you're grappled and you're trying to fight off an attacker.
mm-hmm,
So you should have disadvantage on other people, but still have a normal attack against the grappler. The thing is, I thought that was always the case, but it's
yeah,
because you are grappled and restrained, it
restraint,
used to be.
yeah,
And restrained is where you get disadvantage on attacks and everyone gets advantage attacks against you. And now my theory was, as I said to you, but the thing is that this makes sense though, that they
mm,
don't say the advantage attacks on you, because if you're being grappled by someone and you're trying
mm.
to fight them off, there's that classic moment where someone's trying to shoot, like, got a gun at someone that's holding someone hostage, and they
Yep,
can't take the shot because they're moving around and they don't want to
yeah,
hit the person that's being grappled, because normally that person trying to take the shot is friendly to the person,
yes,
or vice versa, is friendly to the person who is grappling and
yes,
can't do any damage to the person there. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that it
yeah.
should also maybe give the disadvantage on attack rolls against the grappler.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Yeah,
because then that would mean grappling has an effect for you as a grappler. Because if you grapple someone, then you, like in that hostage situation, you've taken someone hostage, their enemies can't get a shot at you without hurting their friend,
exactly.
and so they should have disadvantage on attacks against you, but they haven't added that in, so that's my only thing on that. That was all.
Yeah.
Inspiration only one at a time, you can bullshit that. I won't go into influence because it's going to take, we can talk about that, that's going to take too long to talk about, and I think it's an interesting
one that it has been discussed quite a bit in the discourse as well, this idea of manipulation stuff, so maybe we should come back to that as well.
And I think there's discourse that's been out about that, and I think persuasion is already a mechanic in the game, which is a much better terminology for it, which is about and it says it here, the skills are animal handling, so gently coaxing a beast, deception, intimidation, persuasion, which are things in there, but I think it's there's a bit of anyway.
I think overall I get the idea of having a glossary, but because I work in higher education and I work with academics, the amount of times I've said this is a great definition, but it's an explanation, not a definition. It needs to be one sentence or not. And I'm just there going, oh, guys, like, because some of them are like difficult terrain. That's a lot of shit. I'm just like, guys, keep it simple. I guess I maybe they're having to over-explain the new terms, but is this going to be at the back of the player's handbook?
It feels more like the sort of thing that would be like, hey, by the way, DM, how to run like when someone makes a persuasion check. It's got too much. It's got a negative connotation to the terminology and the way that it works, and I think that it's also, I don't know. I think there's I think it was a bit. I just didn't. Yeah, there's too much to it.
I will say, although I've just noticed it now, you know how before we were saying I don't know the difference between certain things. There is underneath rules glossary. There's a little section that says changelog, and it goes, here are the list of glossary entries that are new or updated. And I'm like, why is that not in bigger writing for us old ladies who need their spectacles to read all this? Epic Boon of Fate, just because I realized we didn't cover it. When another creature that you can see within 60 feet of you makes a d20 test, you can roll a d10 and apply that number as a bonus or a penalty. You can use this benefit once you use it. You can't use it again until you roll initiative or finish a short or long rest. So pretty good, I guess, because you can use it on your initiative and stuff. But yeah, you want to use your 100 hit points 40 hit points 1, don't you?
Yeah, that's the one I'm going for. That's the one. Well, I think there's better ones out there. Someone needs that people can make. That was kind of my theory. I think the
100 epic boons.
Epic boons is going to be good. And the study action was something that came on.
Yes.
When you take a study action, you can make an intelligence check to study your memory, a book or creature, a clue, an object, or another source of knowledge, and call to mind an important piece of knowledge about it. Which is just, can I make an intelligence check or an investigation
or a history check
or something? But the areas knowledge table suggests which skills are applicable when you take this. So it's it's more of a it's explaining those things when you would have just gone, it's about magic, I'll make an arcana check. But it kind of gives you some certain things. It's explaining, I did investigation was traps, ciphers, riddles, and gadgetry.
I know, gadgetry, what a great word.
Gadgetry is a great word, isn't it? I like that word.
I guess I've got to that point now. It's tricky because I'm running different systems now that a lot of the time you don't need to roll for certain things. I think my style of DMing is changing a bit where I'm not saying, it's like, do I know this? If it's like something that, I'm like, well, you don't know this. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm just like, I'm just going to tell you, no. I don't want you to waste that natural 20 and go, yeah, you definitely don't know this. Because, make up stuff unnecessarily. I mean, I'm very good at. I say that I always make up stuff when they ask me for certain things. If it's something that intrigues me, like, is there are there secret entrances into this library? And you're like, oh, maybe. Roll and find out. Or I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
The rules glossary is a funny term, and maybe I haven't actually checked the glossary of terms in the player's handbook to really know, and I never really looked at it, so maybe it has all this stuff in there anyway. So
probably does, knowing us. One thing we have discussed on this podcast, and maybe if I say out loud, we now hold ourselves to it, is that we did discuss having. Yeah, I know you know what's coming. We did discuss whether or not to do like a GM's book club where we look at other systems in general. I know. and because that it's something that both interests as well. We do read a lot of other systems. You
Yeah.
write content for other systems. I play a lot of other systems. So I think it's
Play
something
all
that
the other systems.
all the other systems. So it is something that we are thinking of in general. So if
Yeah.
you're like, I love D&D, but also these other cool games that these
Yeah.
two get to play, or let us know.
Ironically, we did think of this before the OGL scandal as well, and then it was
I
like,
know.
and then the OGL's going like, "Oh,
So
Fiona, I think our GM's book club idea was a good idea."
I think it's a good idea, so we need to get on it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we've come to the end of this
Yes.
episode. Thank you so much,
Mm.
Hamilton, for suggesting clerics. Because again, it's one of those things where, oh yeah, we really should do them at some
Yeah.
point as well. So it's actually a nice little contained episode. So I really really
Mm.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. Well, it's always nice to be back doing the D's and D's.
Well, Hamilton, where can we find you if you're not on the DM's book
Oh
club?
my gosh.
What projects are you? What projects is future Hamilton doing that
Doing.
past Hamilton can talk about?
Well, past Hamilton can talk about future Hamilton. So Bowie's has been talked about for a long, long time. I
Yes.
know, and as I said last time, it will come out when it comes out, and that's how I'm
Yes.
just that's how I'm existing. It's just the only way I can do things. I was doing some writing for it recently again, just figuring out like we're about to have the next session a week in 6 days time on Monday, the Monday coming from where we are. We're in the sort of end game. And then I just
So
did a
exciting.
whole classic Hamilton removing, jigging. And it's still the same thing, but it's like I want to get this to work. How I get there in the best possible way, sort of thing.
Yes.
May or may not have something to do with the fact that I watched Tenet the other day, so for the first time, which I can't believe it took me that long to see it, but
It's on my list. I'm gonna have
oh
to
my
catch
gosh,
up.
Fiona, it's one of the best movies ever. I know it's not. I know I can see how it's not, and I can see how people don't like it. But for me, it was just so.
I was gonna say, I
great.
will say, from the trailer, I'm like, it is a Hamilton film. I
Yeah.
can see that now.
Did you like? If you liked Inception and Interstellar,
I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you will love this movie. I think
Interstellar is a great film as well.
Interstellar
Yeah.
is incredible.
Mhm.
So yes, and then I don't know how much I can talk about, but we've got a very exciting thing happening in
Yes.
February.
Yes.
Which Fiona will be involved in,
Yes.
and
Get to be in Bristol. I'm very excited. We're in person.
yes, in person in Bristol. Yeah, my
Yes.
God, that's all we can say. I think I don't know how much I can say. I probably can say lots of stuff about it, but it's not going to be D&D. I can
No.
say that, and it's going to be
Very cool.
very
It's gonna
cool,
be
and it's
very
going to
cool.
have people playing in it that you've seen me play with before.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be another Theatre Macabre this year at some point,
Mhm.
and that's all I can probably talk about. I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah,
That's fair
those will
enough.
come.
Fair enough.
Anyway, with that, what time is it? Where am I? When are we going to do our next podcast? Who are you, and what do you do?
Okay, the time time of recording is 3 minutes past 10. Where are you? Well, you're in your house, Hamilton, and I'm in my house. What was it next? When? No, did we do when?
When are we next doing a recording?
When we're next recording? We've not looked at our diaries, so we'll find out ASAP. How are you doing? Oh, who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I?
How do you do what you do? There we go. How about that?
There you go. I'm Fiona. I'm a podcaster. I'm also an improviser, doing fairly well just now. Yeah, it's great. Where am I? Even though you've already said that. I'm so glad you asked. Look at this, seamlessly stumbling over the difficult terrain of D&D.
If you could see my face right now, it's like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
So I run What Am I Rolling, a twice monthly RPG one-shot podcast. As always, it's going fairly well. I'm back on my edit train finally. We've had lots of interviews with people who have been really nice and very lovely, and it's been very nice and very lovely to just chat to them and be excited about their games. And there's other things that are happening that I'm like, as we sort of mentioned at the beginning, we've already done my plugging stuff, to be fair, but the main thing is obviously Alien is out, and I'm running it, and I'm doing a fantastic job of it. One thing I will say is that today I got contacted by one of the sort of promo people from the network, Girls Run These Worlds, and they said, we want to do a proper promo for it. Is there a way we could do like a distress signal and that we could put out as a promo, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, here's all the information about what happens in the scenario. And then they threw together in half an hour a script, and I'm like, holy shit, that's
really?
Pretty very cool.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, that's very cool. A lot of the time, as you can tell, I get very excited, but also go, I'm now terrified because what if I'm rubbish? Which I know
you won't be, and also in your head you're like, Yeah, Fiona, you're the best. And so,
I did a thing, so yes, that's very good.
what's that going to be? Where are we going to find that?
You know what? Look at you promoting away. So Girls Run These Worlds is a Twitch and YouTube channel. It's a big network which sort of tells stories from mostly female or femme presenting DMs and cast of players that sort of highlights people of color and diversity in that way. And so it'll be on twitch.tv/ I think it's Girls Run These Worlds or GRTW. There'll be lots of links to it, and I'm sure I'll put a link in this episode as well. So go check that out. Obviously be on Twitch, and then I'm sure it will come up on YouTube much later, at a later date, essentially. There's also, I'm going to tell you this off podcast, Hamilton, because I've not spoken to you about it, but I've had some really interesting news. And I don't want to say anything because the last time I talked about interesting news, I didn't get the thing. So I'm just going to be quiet about it until off podcast because I wanted to tell you about it, but I've only just remembered about it because I keep forgetting about it and then go, oh my god,
Fiona's got all the cool stuff going on, by the way, all the time. Fiona's like does for people at home who don't know that, who think that we do talk regularly, and then
Yes.
and then suddenly I see on Fiona's Twitter feed or Instagram going, I just did this really cool, amazing thing, and I'm like, Fiona, you didn't tell me that. And she goes, oh, I didn't want to tell you. I didn't know. I didn't think it was that big a deal. And I'm like, Fiona.
No, I'm very bad at telling people because
I'm doing this. I'm just about to do this live thing on this big channel. Really? Oh, thanks. Where did you not tell me this?
I know. I'm very bad at telling my actual, also loving, supporting friends I'm actually doing stuff. So I just put it out on my Instagram.
Classical Implosions is coming in February.
Yes, Galactical Implosions is coming back. We've got also House of Masks is coming back. So yes, an improv VR show of different things. It's very exciting. And yeah, so I'm very busy. But you know what? That's okay because I get to do stuff like this and talk about D&D, which I do love, even despite all the discourse that's happening just now. And I get to talk about RPGs, and I get to hang out with cool people like you, Hamilton. So it's all good stuff.
We all know that's the best part of it. But anyway,
I knew that. Finally. Also,
yes.
I always forget this. Hand gestures. I know I can't see you because of the camera issues, but tap. If you want 10% off your first order of a gaming thing, it's 2023, new year, new you, new terrain,
new army.
New army, new miniatures, exactly. You can get 10% off your first order at Third Space Gaming, your friendly local game store in Burnley. You just got to type in DMBC. Yeah, got to do the cool little typewriter hands as you do that, and you get 10% off your first order. And you can check their stuff out. They've got loads of stuff. Hopefully, they'll get most of the RPG stuff in there. But if you like terrain, if you like painting, if they've got a whole set of paint minis or paints,
mini paints,
so go
tiny
check them
pots
out.
of paint, not for minis, just little tiny sample pots. For your
oh my
house.
God, that would be amazing.
Like a Farrenball paint set for your doll's house. Anyway, yes, continue.
Anyway, so yes, go get that. That's DMBC to get 10% off your first order. And I think that's all the plugging. I think that's everything.
It's everything. I think we spent about 40 minutes of this podcast plugging other stuff.
I know. We're so bad. But honestly, thank you so much. Welcome to 2023. I appreciate when you're listening to this. It's February, but well, thank you so much for joining this. Well, technically a brand new series.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yes. Thank you for joining this brand new series of DM's Book Club. As it's going to be a good year for us in general.
Is this a new series?
Yeah.
Is this like the first of the new series?
Well, the previous episode will be the first of the new series.
Did we actually address that in that episode either?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
No. Look at us.
So professional. Anyway, we're going to awkwardly wave at the camera or wave at, and we'll say goodbye, friends, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Bye.